springs.
Give me a one-way ticket to anywhere.
and a glazed donut. To go. LeBrain Train. LeBrain Train. All aboard.
Unmute myself. Good evening, folks. It is Friday, June the 24th already. I can't believe how quickly this entire summer is flying by. But here we are. It is the end of June. And tonight's a special show. We have a very special trio on tonight called the Seagram Synth Ensemble. And you've probably heard me talking about these guys before. Here's their album. And I actually prefer the back cover to the front cover. But it's a beauty. It's instrumental, very atmospheric, and it is on colored vinyl. Look at that. And these guys just came out with a brand new single. And I will show it to you because you have never seen anything like this before. And I know we have people watching who are like, yeah, you know, I've got this album on CD and this one on 8-track and this one on cassette. This one on vinyl, and this one's on 7-inch, and this one's on 12-inch, but I bet you don't have anything that's on this. This is their new single called Ephem, and we'll be talking about this tonight. It's a little different than your average single. The clue is actually in the logo here. You notice how the logo becomes a little bit more distorted. It's a fascinating thing. It's a new format. And perhaps the only time anything will ever be released in a format like this, but we will talk all about it tonight. And actually, not to mention, it's actually a really good piece of music too. So it's not just a gimmick. I would like to do very quickly before we really get the show on the road. I would like to do before Robert Daniels joins us because he loves unboxings. I would like to do an unboxing of sorts. Ha-ha! Look at that. Ravager Thor. Isn't that a beauty? What's his t-shirt? Oh, it's the tree that I can't pronounce, you know, the Asgardian tree that I can't pronounce. That's what it is. There's a good picture of Thor right there. And you'll notice he comes with a clump of rocks there. What looks like a clump of rocks. That's a piece of Korg. Looks like it's his arm. So it's what you call a build-a-figure. If you look at the back here, you can build Korg by collecting all of these figures. And indeed, I will be collecting all of these figures. I already have Christian Bale's Gore, and now I have Ravager Thor. So that comes in July. That film, Thor, Love and Thunder. All right, now that that's out of the way, I'm going to bring on my co-host tonight, Rob. And you just give me a thumbs up when you are ready, my friend. He's ready. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing just fine. How you doing?
The new look, Rob.
Yes.
You don't look at all like your video that we played earlier.
Well,
well, I mean, you're still Rob. But... Anyway, how are you tonight, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Battling the heat
as best I can.
As best you can. So thanks for joining me tonight. This is the first time we've ever done a joint interview. Now, I know the guys are in the waiting room, so I will just say, James Dowbiggin, you look fine. James Reeser and Dave, I don't have any camera. Oh, now we do. Now we have one on James Reeser. We have, maybe Dave can get one hooked up too. But the guys are waiting in the waiting room. You know what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about the Seagram Synth Ensemble. Have you had a chance to listen to some of the music I sent you?
I did.
And your thoughts?
And my thoughts? Well, you know, I actually really enjoyed this. This was something that there was some definitely these guys were influenced, I'm sure, and I actually want to ask them about their influences and that sort of thing. This is going to be very interesting to see because I heard a lot of. I mean, it's no secret that I do a soundtrack show, so there's a lot of good synth scores from the 80s. So I look at it this way. I I'm thinking those guys were probably influenced, if not even just peripherally, of some of the stuff that that I want to ask them about and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's an unusual format to put that single on. And I was listening to it, or listening to the well, I don't want to ruin the surprise in this, but I was listening to it. It's rather unique, but there's also a little bit of history there as well, and I will get into that as well. I will ask them about that.
Okay, I'm curious. I know that you've had a sneak peek at what I'm going to be asking about. I don't know anything you're going to be asking about, so this will be rather fun for me. I did see these guys, or at least I saw two of them live opening actually for my sister. The very last concert I have seen is actually the guys that we're talking to tonight. It was the Masked album release party for album release concert, really,
right,
for my sister. And they were, I believe it was two of the three guys were opening with a harp player. And it was really cool. Unfortunately, I didn't record very much of it. I was recording that night, but I only got mostly my sister's stuff. And I wish I recorded more of their stuff, because what I did capture, I don't know what synths they're playing, but there's just like this deep growly synth, this like low hum, and it's a beautiful sound. And this is, on a cell phone.
Yeah.
So, awesome live presence. And I know that they have a gig coming up, which we will also be asking them about. Now, I've just been informed that the two James have a camera, but the Dave does not. So we will be talking to Dave in voice form only.
Ah, okay.
But that is absolutely fine, because, there's more than enough of us. Plus, we have Gimli, can fill in for Dave, really, if we need that to happen. So, without further ado, guys, if you are ready, the two that I can see, just give me a thumbs up if you guys are ready. And the guy that I can't see, maybe just shout into your microphone. Or maybe he's muted himself. Well, we'll see how this is going to work. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the Seagram Synth Ensemble.
The LeBrain Train is proud to present James, Dave, and James of Seagram Synth Ensemble.
Oh, shit, I forgot to add them. Man, we're off to a great start tonight. Hey, fellas.
Whoa.
Whoa, what an intro.
Normally,
Jesus.
I have you guys pop on the screen automatically afterwards, but I was a little slow on the trigger. I've been slow on the trigger all night. I sent Rob the join link about 10 minutes ago. So I apologize if this is off to a pun intended train wreck.
It's all good. Thanks for having us. That was an amazing intro, and I have to say I really like the LeBrain Train soundtrack at the beginning. That was great.
I'm glad you enjoyed that. That was by our musical accompanist, Mr. T-Bone Erickson, who he cannot be here tonight because he's up at the cottage. Or apparently, as I've learned, up in Thunder Bay, they call it camp.
Oh, okay. Lucky fellow.
Yeah, so that's where he is tonight. But I will tell him that you enjoyed that.
Oh, it was rocking.
Excellent. I was going to ask you guys about gear, but I'm just going to enlarge your picture, James. This is, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this stuff.
Base Command.
Oh my God. This is like a Yes concert.
I am very jealous. That's the kind of setup that I would like, but
I hope Dave can join us. He sent me a message earlier.
Are you able to hear me now?
Hear
Anything at all?
Oh, he's here.
Yeah.
He
Yeah?
speaks.
Here.
Dave, you made it.
I'm here.
Excellent. Well, James, since you can't raise your, or Dave, sorry, since you can't raise your hand, just, speak up anytime you want to interject.
Fantastic.
Okay. So we have all three of you. Shall we begin?
Looking forward to it.
So you heard my preamble earlier. I first caught two of you guys, I believe, live, opening for my sister. And I believe you had the harp player, Grace Shield, with you that night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and look who just popped in.
Hey, Catherine.
Anyway, so my first experience with you guys was live, and I know you have recently announced your next gig. And I have forgotten the name of the act that you were opening for, but this is your first gig in basically 3 years.
Yeah, it's a trio. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess my my opening question is, are you rusty and are you nervous?
Well, it's funny because the last gig we did as a trio was our album release, I think. And that was right before James Dobigan moved to Halifax for a couple of years. So we're going to be a little rusty.
Any nerves though?
Not really. Most of our works are pretty improvised, so we have a very go with the flow kind of performance, and it's awesome. It's basically just like seeing three guys play with their nerdy toys and communicating musically. So, yeah.
Well, that's something that Rob and I can relate to. Two nerdy guys playing with toys and connecting musically.
It's three nerds, no nerves.
But just quickly, when's the gig and who are you opening for?
So it's
And where?
July 15th in Kitchener at the museum, and we're opening for a indie pop group called Jaguar Sun. Which Dave and I are actually a part of. And the album release, actually Jaguar Sun released an album today, so I'm just going to shout out them, go check it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys will be opening for yourselves.
Yes.
Basically, yeah.
We need to figure out the gear logistics so there's not too much crossover.
Yeah.
It does sound very complicated. If you need a roadie, I'm unfortunately unavailable that night. Maybe Rob will be.
No, unfortunately, no.
That's what I'm there for.
So you're the roadie.
Me and Gimli. Yeah.
I don't know if Rob, if you want to throw it to Gimli or if you wanted to ask the next question.
Well, guys, I mean, obviously, you're back after 3 years, but what got you started? And I'd like to ask maybe this James over here, James Resner, or Reiner. It's Reeser, sorry.
Resner. Trent Resner, I'll take it.
Nice.
Or Reeser. And maybe just go around and where did you what got you into this? What got you into synthesizers?
Oh man, what got me into synthesizers was actually funny. So this band that I'm wearing, the shirt, MGMT. When I was in high school, I first heard the track "Time to Pretend" by MGMT, which has a synth lick in it, and I was like, I gotta figure out what makes a sound, and I gotta get one. And so that's how it started, and it became a very slippery slope. And that was all in high school. And then in university, I met these two fellas, and Dave, I think, already had a handful of synthesizers, or you've played on some. James has been playing piano for forever, and so the three of us kind of started just slowly acquiring synthesizers, and then we lived together for 5 years in university, or 4 years. So we basically,
and when you live together, you end up enabling each other quite a bit.
Yeah.
To acquiring new gear.
As you know, it becomes an addiction, and it was a bad idea to put us in the same building for 4 years.
I know nothing about musical addictions, trust me. But that must have been a pretty killer apartment. Like, you guys must have just had so much stuff.
Oh goodness, yeah. It was a tornado of synthesizers, vinyl, and craft beer, and the three of us just, you gotta buy more.
That's awesome.
And then basically when we were wrapping up university, and we were trying to figure out, because we all went to school for music, we were trying to figure out the next steps, and we thought, okay, well, what do we do now? Let's form an official group and then start, creating tunes together. So
I think our first show was technically James Dobigan's grad recital. It was either that or the Plugged In Numis concert that we played, that James won as an emerging curator.
I think it was a student composer concert. We played Prisoner 55 or 54 or Patient 54. We still haven't settled on a title for what we played, but yeah, I think that was our first show, and then that year we had 2 or 3 more, and we didn't perform much other than in our bedroom.
Which
sounds
is
like
fine,
synth players.
Because, that's where the creativity can happen as well. Just 3 guys in a space jamming some music and hearing something cool and building on it. Which you guys definitely built something pretty cool with this. I mean, I love the back cover, as I said earlier. But
Fun fact, it was designed by James Dobigan using MS Paint.
no,
Yeah. I
the
paid
program
top
that I
dollar.
still use.
Yeah, I'll show you later if you want how to do it.
What, so I can make my own Seagram Synth back cover? I
Exactly.
love them. But no title, no name on the front cover. It's all on the back.
Hmm.
And I can't remember, but did you have a CD for sale as well?
No, just the vinyl.
Look at
Okay, I
that.
find that interesting.
Yeah.
Why no CD?
I'll
Well-
take this one. We decided to throw back to the one of the older formats instead of which actually I say older formats, but I think vinyl sales were up and coming again for its second time around, or maybe even third time around. Whereas like CD sales are kind of dipping down, as far as I know anyway. I don't actually know the stats, but we had to choose kind of one or the other, and we went with the vinyl scene.
It
Plus,
should also be mentioned probably that like I started collecting records because of James and James. Like in first year university, that was just something that I thought was super cool that he had a record player in his dorm, and I was like, I kind of want to get into that. And so like through our friendship, we've like records has been a big thing that brings us together, and it was really cool to be able to produce something like that with two of your best friends, just making music on these instruments that you love together as well. So that was a big part of it. And we also figured that if you're looking for it, you can probably find it on Spotify. And if you want something physical, you can buy the record, but the CD would just be another cost for us that we'd end up with a box full of them in our basement. So
yeah. Chris Sarr is asking, we have a lot of serious like format heads that are interviewing audience, and one of them, Mr. Tim Derling, actually just wrote the book on 8-track tapes. So it's actually been a topic of conversation quite a bit, excuse me, in the last 6 months. 8-track tapes. Any interest?
Well, we have one now.
You've pre-sold one copy.
There we go.
I think every one of us has an interest in releasing something on 8-track. It's how do you do that?
Yeah.
True. That's a good point. I can't answer that question for you.
We've been thinking about it.
Really?
For about 29 years, I think.
Are you serious?
No, not seriously.
No, you're not serious. Yeah, you're pulling my leg. Rob, I'm going to throw it back to Gimli if he's got a question.
Okay, well, guys, it's great to hear. Like, it's great to see that you guys are into synthesizers. I mean, just looking at our, I don't know. I know there are two Jameses here, and I don't want to just say one James. I'll talk to the upper James. We'll say that
Upper James.
upper James.
that's what we call them too. Yeah.
Take another look there.
Now you're that looks like a. Is there some analog stuff in there that is behind you?
Everything is basically analog except for this guy over here. This is a new digital synthesizer.
Okay.
Everything else is analog. This one I made myself, and half of it's digital, half of it's analog.
I'm sorry, you made it yourself?
I did. Yeah.
Oh. So you have to be kind of a bit of a mad scientist, I guess.
Oh yeah. You're. It's one thing to want to wonder, like, okay, this is a really cool sound that I'm hearing on this record. How do you make the sound? And then you realize, okay, that's cool that this machine can make this sound, but how does it make the sound? Like, what's going on underneath the hood? It's almost like a car, I guess, in a way, where it's one thing to look at a car and go, that's cool. And then
I'm going to build one of those.
Yeah, I want to work on that. I want to figure out how the heck this car actually works, and I want to work on it myself. So,
because I don't know if you're obviously you guys are probably familiar with Tom Holkenborg or Junkie XL, and some of his videos where he's got this huge rig behind him and that sort of thing. So when I see Upper James's rig there, it kind of reminds me of that. So, all right. With the whole idea of analog versus digital, why go with the analog synths and not the more modern synths?
Who wants to take this one? I know we can all rant for hours about this topic.
Well, in fact, there are actually some digital synths that we have used,
Right.
and on No Moving Air, at least.
Yes.
We were not only using analog; we were using like a Nord Electro and King Korg, and like for example, the sequencer that James is using on one of the tracks is technically, correct me if I'm wrong, James, is it analog? The Korg or the
Moog?
The SQ1?
Oh, yeah. Right, on the album. This guy,
Yeah.
that's a digital sequencer controlling an analog synthesizer.
Yeah. So I don't know. We've had the debate for about 10 years about what's better, analog or digital, and of course the answer is that it's whatever suits the project at hand or the sound that you're looking for at hand, because digital has its improvements and its advantages. So
What about
we just love the warmth of analog often, but not as a, as an absolute.
Yeah.
Nice thing about digital is you don't have to rely on it going at, or you don't have to worry about it going out of tune, which is an analog issue for sure. But
Yeah.
I think the short answer is the two can work in harmony very well. So that's what we do.
Yeah, you've done a hybrid, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But what about
Digital,
maintenance on
analog,
those
and
old,
homemade synthesizers.
What about maintenance on those old instruments, though?
Yeah,
Do you-
So-
are there vacuum tubes in there?
Oh, yeah, honestly, sometimes. What's funny is, so this guy, instead of this is fully digital. It's a modern, crazy gizmo. Every feature you want. It's basically like the Toyota, I'll say the Toyota Prius or the Tesla synthesizers.
That's product placement.
Yeah. Before this, I had this older analog, highly sought after kind of synth, and it was amazing. But the problem was it was like having an old car, like having like a early 60s muscle car. And it's awesome to have, and awesome to say that you own it and look at it and appreciate it every day. But as you said, the upkeep just it adds up being quite a bit, and it has its issues. Like this guy here is analog, and I have to wait for it about 20 to 30 minutes for the oscillators inside. That's the part that actually generates the tone. About 20, 30 minutes for them to stabilize and therefore get in tune.
Wow.
Yeah, like you got to tune it. So
See, that's something you don't hear about. very
No, I
often,
didn't know any of that.
Having
Yeah,
to tune the synthesizers.
Meanwhile,
So-
any guitar players who are listening are like, yeah, and
I have to do that 6 times with 6 strings.
And yours
So, like-
tunes? Does it tune does it automatically go into tune after that period of time, or do you have to fiddle with it?
So, sometimes you have to fiddle. Every machine's different. This particular one though is, it usually, if I turn it on, leave it for 20 minutes or so, it'll stabilize itself. It's pretty funny though when the three of us will start jamming and I'll turn it on and immediately you'll start messing around. I'm like, whoa, that's out of tune. And then naturally, you adjust it, and then sure enough, as the time goes by, you have to keep adjusting it. And whereas these digital ones, you turn it on, it's good to go. It's great.
That's cool.
No maintenance really.
Do they have a long life? These digital ones?
They haven't really gone through the test of time as much as some of the older analog ones, but like I would say so. Like the first digital synthesizer came out in '83, and very rarely do you hear about them dying. The problem is if there is an issue, you likely got to replace the entire board. Whereas like if there's an issue with the analog ones, okay, you can get out your little multimeter and find out which component is starting to die, and it could only be like a $5 replacement.
Not $5. That's not so bad. That's what,
Yeah.
three of these maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that James knows all this is a good segue into how we built FM,
Right.
because he is the electronics engineer, and the concept is all of ours, but really when it comes to making something in that box, and you can introduce that for us, but yeah.
Just want to show it off a little bit. There's the power switch. So if I powered it up there, we get the light. And if I pushed play and had a pair of headphones, I'd be hearing something right now. But this is what it looks like. This is the single. This is the format. There is a 9-volt battery plugged in. And it came with this attachment, by the way. So really all you need to provide yourself is the pair of headphones and the battery.
I think that is so cool.
Yeah. But I'll let the guys tell the story, I guess. There is a lot more to it than just this being something that you press play on. So why don't you talk about the concept of FM and why it exists and all that other good stuff? I'm sure that you can go on for an hour on that.
Absolutely. It was really born out of like exhaustion and dissatisfaction with the modern streaming platform. I feel like I've had the same like 20 recommended albums on my Spotify for the last like 5 years. And like I can't seem to convince the algorithm that anything else would be interesting to me, or that I would like a degree of randomness injected into what it recommends. So that whole sort of everything available all the time, whenever you want it, it's exhausting and tiring and dissatisfying to me. So we started thinking about, okay, what about a piece that you can't listen to all the time and you can only listen to it in one spot and you can't distribute it, by the millions. It's for you, and you kind of have control over the mortality of it and how many times it can be played, because eventually it's going to pass away, basically. And it was largely inspired by, like, William Basinski has a group of pieces called the Disintegration Tapes, where he was transferring some old recordings he had made to a digital format. But he had noticed that the magnetic, like, part of the tape was starting to fleck off.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, so the more you run this over a tape head, the more it disintegrates, the more this piece of music develops, despite only being like a 10 or 20 second loop of music. So I thought that was super interesting. And if you go for a walk at night listening to the disintegration loops, like, it can be a very impactful experience just listening to this piece sort of disintegrate away. So that was a big inspiration for FM. And the idea would be that you're now considering this listening experience intentional, and focusing on listening to it as closely as you can, and instead of just very passively going through a playlist that some robot made for you. But yeah, that's largely the crux of it.
Mm-hmm. That, and if I could add to that, for me anyway, I know a lot of it comes from a little bit of jealousy from an era that the three of us never got to actually experience, which is like, I guess we did a little bit in the 90s, but not having control over what you're listening to, like the feeling of turning on the radio and just hoping like that song comes on, and when it does come on, you're like, heck yeah, let's blast this, because I might not hear this for another week or two. Or sprinting to the library to like take out CDs. Now, I guess that's a little different because we could have taken them, but I like ripped them on our computers. But when I hear like my parents or past professors talk about like how eager they were to go to the library, get out as many records as you can, and then just to listen to them, and knowing that like you can go out and try and find it and buy one yourself, but other than that, you'll have to bring the record back, and then you won't be able to hear that for a good amount of time unless it was popular and on the radio. So I guess this piece also comes from, I don't know, the jealousy of not having that special of a listening experience, or reminiscing from, times before the internet or streaming.
Yeah.
I know Ryan and I, we remember those experiences.
Yeah. I was just going to say.
Do you miss them?
Dave, I don't. I don't want to make this about me, but my memories are of the first time you bought a cassette. It was the best listen you were going to have to that cassette. The next time, it was going to be a little bit duller, and then a little bit duller, and a little bit duller, until eventually you'd get things like dropouts happening, and then your favorite album, you have to rebuy it. And then finally, we'd upgrade to one of these. It's like, no more cassettes. We now I have this. It's the last time I'm going to need to buy this album, which of course that's a whole other joke. But anyway, no, Dave. In a short answer, I appreciate where you guys are coming from, but personally, I don't have a fond nostalgia for that.
Yeah, like it certainly for us, it's like the excitement of discovery, right? And like,
Yeah.
you know, having to dig and like work for that musical payoff. Like sometimes these days I'll listen to like CIUT, which is an independent radio station in Toronto, and they don't always announce what they're playing, and a lot of it is out of left field. So now I'm like at home looking through playlists for hours until I find it, and that's still a super exciting experience for me. But
That's cool.
Yeah.
Some things that Shazam won't identify.
Precisely.
And that's something that I know Rob and I share is you know, that organic experience of discovering music back then. And yeah, it's like how does that happen today? It doesn't happen as frequently with me. Like Dave was saying, it's a lot of recommendation stuff that's coming up my timeline, you know. But maybe we should just really be clear here exactly what happens when you buy and play. Well, you can't buy it. It's congratulations on being sold out, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, for now.
For
now,
good.
yeah.
For now is good. So for those who might be interested in it in the future, it's very unique. Every time you press play, what happens?
So every time you press play, you get to hear our latest singles on there.
Yeah.
And every time you press play, you hear our single. But similar to a tape, the more you play it, the more the single is going to disintegrate. And eventually it's going to disintegrate to the point where you won't recognize it. It'll just come off as noise, like digital noise. And it's neat to hear the piece kind of evolve that way, but also every time you play the track, it'll be the last time you get to hear it of that quality, until eventually it'll be unrecognizable.
Yeah. Upper James essentially designed an effect that disintegrates every time that it's looped.
If I had to describe it, and I know Rob, you've heard a couple different plays of this, but if I had to describe it, I would say that as I played it, it was sounding thinner and more brittle.
Yeah, basically it's lowering without getting too sweaty into it. It's basically lowering the sample rate of it. The effect is called a bit crusher, which has been out for decades, and I'm sure everyone's kind of heard the similar effect on their on a 90s dance track or 2000s dance track. But yeah, basically it's reducing the amount of the bit depth or the sample rate of what we're listening to, making it literally lower and lower quality.
Right. Well, it's interesting. As soon as Mike showed me the box and told me what it did, it reminded me of very early on, maybe back in 1956. The Barons, Lewis and Bebe Baron, did the well, they couldn't actually call it a musical score because electronic music was looked down upon at that time. And so they basically called it electronic tonalities. But there is one track on the soundtrack to Forbidden Planet where they basically created a circuit to die, and so they essentially would run the current through it. And as you're hearing the sounds come from this circuit, it's beginning to die. It's beginning to sound, and you can hear it in the tonalities. And so as soon as they said that, I went, well, it's giving it a nice modern spin. I think that's really cool, guys.
Yeah.
And I, if it wasn't sold out, I'd be getting one myself.
I just want to throw some viewer comments up on the screen here. Eric L., quite original package. It's like I can see this being part of a Black Mirror episode, if you know of the series.
We watched many an episode while we were living together.
There you go. There might be some subliminal influence there. And Happiness is asking if you are fans of the Oberheim OBX, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is the one that Eddie Van Halen played on Jump.
Oh, I don't know what he played on Jump, but I am a fan of the OBX.
Okay.
If I could afford one, I'd be all over it.
Have you played one?
Just build one,
goodness.
James.
Oh, I'll get on it.
Have you ever played one? Have you ever laid your hands on one? No.
I haven't. Have you guys? No.
Not the X, no. But have we all touched an OB6 or 8?
Maybe the 8 is what Eddie played. I'm sure Happiness will remind me what Eddie played, but he's a bit of a synth freak himself.
Okay, great.
I wanted to say, and this kind of goes back to what Rob was asking about influences and whatnot. When I listened to No Moving Air again today, I heard like a Blade Runner-y soundscape in my head, and I'm just wondering, was that an influence? Vangelis, that kind of thing.
That's a big part of it. Yeah, the whole album, like we don't like it to sort of limit it to one genre, but it's sort of a love letter to all sorts of electronic music that the three of us would have considered important in our musical development. Vangelis is definitely a big part. Blade Runner, again, we would have watched that probably more than once in our apartment.
Oh yeah.
What else? Like we were all into Daft Punk. We were all into more avant-garde stuff. Yeah, like it covers a lot of ground, but definitely the Blade Runner vibe is present.
Yeah,
for sure.
That is one thing that I got from your album, guys. There's a vibe. There was, and that comes up a lot, especially with synth scores. You mentioned Blade Runner, and there is a vibe to Blade Runner. And when I'm listening to FM and the album that you guys did, there is definitely a true vibe there. I mean, you can sit, and I mean, I don't do it myself, but you could sit and smoke pot to it, and it would be great.
My grandma said the same thing.
You've outed your grandma. Oh my God.
Oh, now I feel old.
But that definitely, I know, like when I first got into records, my dad gave me a handful of his Tangerine Dream albums because I got into vinyl about the same time as I got into synthesizers. And actually, I think the first vinyl, my first Christmas when I was into these hobbies, my dad bought me Kraftwerk's Autobahn, if you remember that track.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it was so Kraftwerk, Tangerine Dream, Jean-Michel Jarre. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it.
Jarre.
Yeah,
Jarre. Okay, yeah.
Michael Jarre, Michael Jarre.
And a lot of M83.
For the record, this gentleman here, he hosts a soundtrack show on CKWR called Visions and Sound. So did we do Blade Runner together? I can't remember.
We might have. I'm trying to remember now.
I think I did because I brought in my DVD box set with the little spinner car. So yeah, we did the Blade Runner box, the Blade Runner soundtrack on his show. So we are definitely on the same wavelength as far as that kind of music goes. Before I throw it back to Rob, though, I am curious. Like, you guys seem like you're into sci-fi. Quickly, going in a circle, I want James, JD, and Dave, top 3 sci-fi movies, real quick.
3 each, or
starting with James, then JD, and then Dave.
I'm gonna go with Interstellar.
Okay.
Blade Runner.
Yep.
And Red Planet.
Interesting.
Oh, awesome.
Great soundtrack on Interstellar.
Awesome.
Okay, JD, you're on the spot.
I think in no particular order, probably Blade Runner 2049, and then I don't know, Minority Report or Star Wars.
Oh, that's not even close.
Yeah, I know. But like, it's subjective. This is my personal choice.
I'm chastising my guest. What a host. What a host.
Yeah,
and
thanks
Dave,
for having us. I don't want to give my answer. I don't know how you're going to
Yay.
react to it.
Bye, FM. Thanks, guys, for your support.
It's okay. I'm done. I'm done with the chastising.
All right. So now that this is my show,
I would just like to say Star Wars: A New Hope.
Oh yeah,
Star Wars. Yeah.
That's what I took you to. That's
broad.
Actually, Rob and I being of the older generation, that's actually what I took you to mean.
Oh.
And Eric L. has your back on Interstellar, by the way.
Heck yeah.
Dave, do you have a top 3?
2001: A Space Odyssey counts, yeah?
Look at that. Happiness just said the
look
exact
at that.
same
Happiness.
thing.
Yeah, perfect. I love Alien, if you'll count that as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
This is so tricky. I'm terrible on the spot, but like Star Wars was a very meaningful experience of my childhood as well.
Of my Star Wars life.
Of my Star Wars life. Yeah.
I've been mistaken for Mark Hamill in the line at Mary Brown's Chicken.
Oh, nice.
Do you have a number
Oh.
3, Dave? Or did you say you said 2, right?
No,
Or
I said
Star Wars
Star
your
Wars
3?
is my third. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm just out of curiosity, Rob, you're on the spot. Did you see his eyes? I'm on the spot.
What sci-fi films? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I would
Just
have
for
to
fun.
say, Alien being one. The Thing. John
Oh.
Carpenter's The Thing, and well, you know, I'll go with Red Planet because I really like the score to Red Planet. Yeah, for it lived in my CD player in my car for weeks. Just some of the fantastic stuff, and I mean, there's Peter Gabriel's song on that soundtrack as well that just kills it. And so yeah, that I would have to say. I mean, put on the spot. Yes, those are my 3, but it would obviously would be different if it was given a little more time to think.
Yeah.
Or tomorrow.
Or tomorrow. Yeah.
Just real quick, 2001: Space Odyssey, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, Star Wars: A New Hope.
There's another one.
See, but you had time to prepare.
I did have time. I knew what I was going to say before I asked the question. But anyway, I'm done with those shenanigans for now. Rob, do you have any further questions?
Yeah, the whole format choice.
Right.
And who do you approach to say, this is what we're doing with our music? Can you do up like 100, 150 of these for sale?
So they're made at home.
Oh,
If I may interject, I have some inside knowledge here. I've been told that James Reeser makes custom guitar pedals. So I have a feeling there's a connection here, if I may speculate.
okay.
Unrelated.
Oh, really?
Unrelated. No.
This guy's always pulling my leg, Rob. This guy's always pulling my leg.
Stop, James. He's going to ask us more questions about our favorite movies.
See ya.
Oh no.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead. Tell us about this.
So yeah, it was designed by myself, and we ordered in the enclosures. So the enclosures come with the FM logo and all that on there.
But that's
But that's it. Yeah, and we got the PCB as well, which is printed circuit board for those that don't know. And it came with no components on it. So basically, we had unfortunately we scheduled our
lot
our
of
build.
soldering.
Lots of soldering, yeah, and it was probably the most beautiful weekend of spring, and we spent it in the depths of our basement going to work. So we soldered all the boards, we drilled all the holes, and then there was our a lengthy testing phase as well, which, yeah, it was a pretty lengthy process, but it was good. It really turned out in the end with like very minimal issues.
I am like literally picturing you guys exactly like that Big Bang Theory episode when they're making the penny blossoms in her apartment for one weekend. I'm literally picturing you guys like cranking through these things in one weekend, drinking coffee by the bucket.
it was
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
but with beer. Yeah.
Pizza, beer, and sweat.
So this is not only like a piece of art, a piece of music, but it's handmade essentially is what we're talking about here.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, everything there is yeah, completely handmade. There's no part of the build where we got someone else to do it other than like the circuit board printing and then the laser printing for
the
the
graphic.
enclosure. Yeah, the graphic, yeah. All which James Delbigan designed.
We should have sent you an open top version so you could see the circuit board and all the soldering and everything.
Yeah, you should have.
Actually, he can see it. I mean, yeah.
I could take it apart, but I'm not
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to right now, obviously.
Yeah.
We just received a great viewer question here, and it's another one of these list type questions. So again, let's go in a circle. We'll start with James and go to JD and then Dave. Name a few of your favorite influential synth keyboard players if you have one.
Oh,
We'll start
Synth-
with James Reeser.
Yeah, synth players. I'm gonna have to go with just the members of Tangerine Dream. There's been like 80 over the decades.
So the
None of-
collective.
The collective of Tangerine Dream, I would say, for sure. I just love like their music has a lot of pulse to it. And it's very driving. I like M83. I forget the gentleman's real name, but his artist name is M83.
Okay.
And I really like that. And then Probably Giorgio Moroder would be my other ones.
Oh, look,
Yeah.
Rob just tweaked there.
There you go. So, they just released Scarface, the full score to Scarface. So, yeah, I've always pronounced it Giorgio Moroder, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yes, I'm getting all my pronunciations wrong today, so please correct
Well, that's
me.
okay. He called you James Resner.
Yeah, sure. It was an honor to be called that.
Yeah, what a compliment. Jeez.
I was just, yeah, man. And unofficial fourth is Trent Reznor, probably.
Yeah.
So.
And that's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, JD?
I think number one, as a keyboardist and synth player, probably Stevie Wonder. And then maybe okay, the duo from LCD Sound System, so Nancy Wang, and I don't remember their name, but they are also a solo artist.
Juan McLean?
No, he they play the more modular setup in LCD. And then number three, probably on the spot, I would darn. I don't want to swear.
Steal one.
You don't want to swear.
Well, you can swear. I mean, this wouldn't be the first time it's happened.
Let's just go with the two from LCD Sound System as separate people.
And Dave.
Growing up, I listened to a lot of like prog rock, so I'm big into the Tony Banks, Rick Wakeman, Geddy Lee kind of synthesis. If I had to fire off a couple, those are the first three that come to mind.
But give me more time, and I
didn't even consider Geddy Lee because I think of him primarily as a bassist. And,
no, it's so hilarious. Like you see some of the liner notes from like Exit Stage Left, and he's got this like 20-pound double neck Rickenbacker hanging off of him, and he's got 2 sets of Moog Taurus pedals and this like big Oberheim synth, and he's playing all of it at the same time and singing like no one else can sing. And then there's like Alex has like a Les Paul, and he's just like playing guitar licks.
Eric says, yes, someone said Wakeman. Someone is named Dave, by the way. And incidentally, one of his claims to fame is having met Geddy Lee once and accidentally blowing pot smoke into his face the second time. Anyway, if I was going to pick one, he's not primarily known as a synth player, but I love John Lord from Deep Purple, primarily known for piano and Hammond B3 organ, but definitely did a lot of synth stuff from the Burn album and forwards. So that's mine.
Organs kind of count as synthesizers, right? You're changing the tone, you're making it your own, and John Lord did a great job with all that kind of stuff. Like, I work at Long and McQuaid, and like every stock keyboard comes with like the John Lord organ sound on it, you know. So
that's
well
cool.
earned.
Awesome. Rob, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Okay, well, I thought you were going to throw it back to me for synth players.
Oh, we didn't do you.
No,
I apologize,
no.
Rob.
Well, I would probably start with Jan Hammer,
Nice.
and go with then John Carpenter, and then his cohort Alan Howarth.
Mm-hmm.
Rick Wakeman as well.
Yeah.
I'd say fantastic stuff. And of course Vangelis, which is God rest his soul. Fantastic musician. Couldn't I don't think he could write read music.
No, really.
Read or write music. So a lot of his stuff was, as I think I heard you guys mention that you were doing a lot of improvisation. Yeah, so there's a good legacy there.
I didn't actually know that. That's cool.
What about who did the soundtrack to Gallipoli? Refresh my memory. Was it Jean-Michel Jarre?
I believe so.
That's a great synth piece. If you guys have ever heard the theme song to Gallipoli,
No.
It's just a really, really neat, fast-paced synth piece, because the movie's actually about a runner and takes place during the First World War, of all things for a synth piece to be in. But it's very striking.
It's a Mel Gibson film, is it not?
It was, I believe, his second film after Breaker Morant. If
Right.
I'm not mistaken, my dad and my mom will know the answer to that. But anyway, Rob, I throw it back to you.
All All right. Well, I mean, we've gone through influences and that sort of thing.
I'll take this one if you want.
No, I was gonna basically ask ask kind of the guys as to maintenance. You mentioned maintenance of your stuff, and where do you find parts these days?
Question.
Is it eBay? Is it all of the places, or where do you find parts?
Well, you can, unfortunately, gone are the days where you can walk down to your local Radio Shack. It's all online right now.
Yeah.
eBay eBay basically has everything, but you could be waiting months for it to get to you.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a website that I usually use called DigiKey, which basically you'll get your parts for. They have endless catalogs, and it comes in about 2 days. But yeah, usually the troubleshooting process is getting out a multimeter and then figuring out when does the signal stop flowing through the circuit board, and that's what's broken.
Okay.
Thankfully, a lot of synthesizers have everything in modules underneath the hood. So if I were to open up this one, there's basically, it's not just one big circuit board. There's multiple circuit boards, and they're all connected with ribbon cables, and they make it easy to troubleshoot in that case. So you can actually just buy, okay, I know the problem is in this board. Instead of fixing just that board, I can just buy another board for $50 and save myself a headache, kind of thing. It's like I don't know if anyone's built a computer, but it's like that, where it's all plug and play and you throw stuff in together. Like a Lego kit.
I pay guys like you to build me a computer.
That's kind of what we did with FM. Was we ended up paying James to design a guitar pedal that could play a song that deteriorates.
Well, it's funny because it seems obvious now that that's what it was based on, the shell of a guitar pedal. But it wasn't until I posted about this today that somebody said, "Oh, I really am curious about this new guitar pedal format." I'm like, "That's what that box is."
Yeah.
And I was sitting here just puzzling over like how how you made this, but I guess it's a stock shell that you guys put a lot of work into.
Yeah. Like the enclosure anyway, it's a very, very common guitar pedal size, which you can basically, if you Google guitar pedal parts, that they'll sell that. And then the website in specific that I got this enclosure from, they do all the powder coating, and they offer a UV printing service, which is great. You just submit a PDF of whatever the heck you want burned into the top, and then you hope for the best.
What's cool is that even if the track deteriorates, this box will be beautiful for the rest of its life, basically. And I meant what I said earlier when I said it's a piece of art. It really is. It's not just a song. It's a piece of art.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, a question I do have is it a different experience for every listener, or is it the same experience?
It'll be it should be the same experience.
Okay. Because I would find it interesting that, the voltage on a 9-volt battery might be different, or if you let it sit for a longer period of time, there might be, something might go on. So this is what I was thinking of. The genius of this design is that it potentially could be a different listening experience for each of the people who have bought this.
We definitely considered something like that.
So cool.
The first iteration of the circuit was like 80% analog, and then definitely, yeah, the voltage of the battery, or like I guess as the current of the battery depletes, then it could change a different listening experience, and also every play would be different. But then it was really neat and it was really cool, but it just added a lot more complexity to the circuit. And also when we realized, okay, we're gonna have to build these ourselves, for
dependability, yeah.
Also dependability, yep, because then you'll run into potential calibration issues, or there's just a lot more. It's a lot more delicate. It's a lot more of like a collector's item, I guess, versus like, yeah, you turn it on, it's gonna do what we're telling you it's gonna do.
Yeah, it ended up having to function like an instrument where it needs to be tightly controlled rather than something that's completely variable and prone to whatever chaos.
Yeah.
And to think you guys could have just put it out on a CD and said we're done with it, but no, you.
Yeah, but if you did that, It would like
Yeah.
I would walk away with that and go, this is cool. This is unique.
Yeah.
I want this on my shelf. And I would that's like I said, I think that's awesome. I think it's an awesome idea. And I have not heard of anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard, I've participated in sound art and stuff like that, but to have something like that, to put it out as a single, and just, like I said, just that's really cool, guys. Like great, very innovative.
Thank you so much for saying so.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I just want to ask one more question and make one more comment before I throw it to another one of our guessing games. But first comment is, please do not release this in any other format.
Nope.
We won't.
Yep,
Keep it that.
it's not going on any digital platform or anything. You can share it with your buddy if you want and let them, play through it once or twice, or show them how it works. That's the best way to share FM. But it's not going anywhere else except for FM boxes.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned when we explained the concept, but that was a big part of it. Was it had to be concrete and tangible, and it could not be easily replicable.
And my follow-up question is, are you guys going to be playing this piece of music live?
There's some debate with that. You know what?
If we can remember how to play it, maybe.
That's the big one. That's the big one. I think we haven't really come to any conclusions. There's in a way it would still be a very unique experience, but then the problem is I would only do it if we could say, all right, you have to leave all your cell phones in the
Gotcha.
lobby before you enter the room,
And
because
that's tough to control.
exactly. But same thing, because although we're on the subject of Spotify and YouTube and what have you, same kind of thesis where you go to a concert and as soon as the first chord is struck, everyone pulls out their phone.
Right.
And it's like, they're focused on experiencing what they're seeing later after the concert than actually absorbing what's in front of them right there in the moment.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to throw it to our quiz. Okay, for James, JD, and Dave, we have a surprise for you.
Oh man.
Who is our secret special guest that is about to join us right now?
Riddle me this.
Well, without further ado, let me introduce Dr. Catherine.
Hey.
Oh.
The dog.
You've been here this whole time?
No. I wanted to surprise you guys since she got me into your music in the first place, and she actually had a ton of really good questions herself.
Uh-oh.
So how are you tonight up in Kincardine, Ontario, Canada?
I'm good. Just want to say that Daisy is here too. So
Oh, hi,
she
Daisy.
is, wants to take part as well. She is a big fan.
You're hitting that dog demographic, the Schnauzer demographic. That's so important these days. Well, did you want to ask any of your questions that I haven't gotten to yet?
I just have one question. No, I have two questions. First question is, you all studied at Wilfrid Laurier University in the Faculty of Music. Who was your favorite professor?
Okay, have a good night, everyone.
You don't have to answer that one.
But what if we want?
If you want to, you can. I've already given
Laughlin
these guys a
Cadano.
pretty hard time tonight, Catherine. I don't know if you caught the early part of the show, but I've chastised
I have
them a
listened
little
to
bit.
the whole thing.
Well, you know I've chastised them a couple of times.
That's tradition around here.
Here, I'll throw
Who's
out
going first?
I'll throw out a question that actually Catherine did mention to me. I want to know about this gig where you guys played the National Film Board of Canada Film Universe and created your own live soundtrack for it.
Yeah, that's a good one to live. Like, it's just so beautiful, and like I might be wrong about this. Some people involved in that film were also involved in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Specifically, the narrator is the voice of Hal,
Douglas Rain,
Doug Rain, yeah.
the very same.
who was
yeah.
from Stratford, Ontario.
Indeed.
Oh,
So I don't even remember how I came upon that film. Honestly, Catherine might have shown me, but yeah, I just remember bringing it to the guys and saying, "Hey, this would be really fun to have behind us as a visual, like just backdrop to what we play." Because I mean, synthesizers and sci-fi go hand in hand, as you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that concert was actually something that we had donated to the Numis like Christmas fundraiser, and so the winner, whoever bid the highest, got a house show from us. And
That's cool.
The winner also happened to live in a loft where there was a theater room that they were able to book for the day. So we played it in a small theater.
Wow.
Yeah, that was one of the cooler visual things we've done.
One thing I just want to add, I don't know if the three of you remember this, but you actually auctioned off 2 private concerts, and one of them has still not been claimed. So I was at Dave Mackay's house a few days ago, and he is the person that has also won one of your private concerts, and I think he's still interested in claiming it. But maybe you can verify tonight. Would you still honor that these many years later?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
No questions
Those
asked.
don't expire. Yeah.
I need to see a receipt.
Oh my god, that is pretty cool though. Like that's the concert that you guys put on for a contest winner. Like that's insane. You guys could have just shown up with your synths and just fiddled away for an hour, but you guys did a whole thing.
Well, we heard about the theater and we're like, okay, we gotta take full advantage of this. This is
So
gonna
it
be
was
awesome.
it was actually a 2-parter. I think we did that short film as one piece, and then the second half we played over top of images that the Cassini space probe had taken when it was
right.
orbiting Jupiter, which
No,
there's-
Saturn. I
Saturn,
think.
pardon me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, there's a video on YouTube that is just like every photo that it took on its journey, like in rapid succession. And it's still quite long. It's many hours, but if you pick like the right sort of 30-minute segment of it, there's some really interesting, like you see the way that the planets are moving and that, you know, comets pass, and it's super interesting to soundtrack.
I bet.
And it gave the contrast in the first half of like the other visuals were all special effects, and
Exactly.
then in
It's
the
all
second half
man-made,
it was
yeah.
all actual planetary, interplanetary, real visuals.
No, I was going to ask you if this show was improvised, but it sounds like it was pre-composed, or at least
To a degree.
pre-planned to a certain degree. Like you knew certain spots you wanted to do something specific, I guess.
What Dr. Catherine might refer to as structured improvisation.
Ooh, I
That
just
was a
learned
term-
something.
We learned that in university.
That's fantastic. I
And to
just learned
circle
something.
back, there aren't a whole lot of professors that actively like seek to get their students out in the real world and give them like lots of real world experience and performance opportunities and connections to organizations like Numis, which have great initiatives like the Emerging Curator and the Emerging Improviser contests. But those kinds of things play huge into creating an emerging and supportive like arts scene that includes contemporary and avant-garde and all sorts of like emerging musicians. And again, not a lot of them. Catherine is definitely a big supporter of that. So we are very happy to have had her influence in our lives and our careers.
So that's our favorite professor.
Aw, man, you
She
guys didn't
is
even
our
have to
favorite
answer that.
And
That is
occasionally she lets us play with her dogs too, which is cool. So
It's good de-stressor.
well, if you guys ever make it up to Kincardine, Ontario, we can chase some dogs and roast some hot dogs or whatever happens. But I just want to say thank you for joining us on a Friday night. I know you guys are really busy, and I know you guys have we'll talk about it again. The big gig coming up on July 15th, opening for Jaguar Sun. Did I get that right? And
Yep.
and that is you're opening for two of you, are opening for three of you, or three of you are opening for two of you, or something. I'm getting myself confused. But
Come and find out.
July 15th, where?
The museum
The
in
museum.
Kitchener.
There you go.
One word. Also,
Easy to
we should absolutely acknowledge that this project was created with support from the Regional Waterloo Arts Fund, which is another great organization in the area that is supporting emerging and established artists. You can see their logo on the bottom of the FM there. But this wouldn't have happened without them, and we're very thankful that they saw the merit of this project and decided to help us out with a bit of funding. So yeah, very thankful for the Regional Waterloo Arts Fund.
Maybe I'll just ask one last question before I let you go. Is it a hard sell to say we want to put something out that you can only listen to X amount of times and then it's a brick?
Planned obsolescence, right? Like I thought we would have way more trouble like explaining it to people, but a lot of people, as soon as you say like this is the antithesis to like a streaming service, a lot of people say, "Yeah, I want that."
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it would,
but
it would,
go ahead.
I was just going to say the novelty of it is just amazing for me.
And I hope you do. If I have any influence here tonight, I hope you do a second run. I think you've already sold a copy here. I would probably buy a second copy, but even especially if you did the second run in a different color. Hint, hint. But I really do admire what you've done here. It's absolutely. It is so cool for a format head like myself to have added a brand new format to my collection of all the weird stuff that I own. Plus, I love the piece of music, and I'm enjoying hearing it change. So well done. I congratulate you on this and also the album. Down below, you see their address for their website. I believe you still have vinyl for sale.
Yep.
There you go.
That's right,
So
yeah.
I strongly recommend picking this album up, No Moving Air. I would describe it as a soundtrack, a spacey soundtrack to maybe an underwater adventure of some kind. But it is
Space underwater. I love that.
I hear water when I listen to this album. I hear water, but it's fantastic. I highly recommend it. I'm assuming that all the copies are that beautiful teal clear vinyl that I have.
Correct.
Yeah.
There you go. So clear vinyl. There's where you go to buy it. Maybe we can talk him into making some more of these. If not, you're out of luck.
Maybe someone who owns an FM can rent it out.
Yeah, but if I rent it out, I might get it back with only a couple of plays left in it.
Oh, you better,
We have to
you better
think this
charge it
through.
quite a bit then.
Is it worth the money? Right. Is it worth it? Do I make it worth my while to rent it? Such an interesting subject. We could go on for many hours, but I do wish you guys luck on July 15th. I will not be able to attend, but I hope that in the future I will be able to catch you guys live. So let's.
If you follow us on Instagram, you'll be able to be in the know for any future shows. What is it? It's Seagram Synth. It's like Instagram but with synth instead of in.
Clever, eh?
Way to go, Dave, for making one that's easy to express.
Yeah.
I thank you guys again for joining us tonight. I really do look forward to hopefully catching you live in the future. And Rob, do you have any last words before
I
we
would
go?
say, guys, if you end up scoring a film or something like that, I'd be more than happy to play the soundtrack on my show.
I'd love to.
I mean, I would. If it's too bad that your universe score isn't available, because I would love to hear that. I mean, I've seen other similar groups. I saw a version of Night of the Living Dead, and there was that kind of approach. So if like I said, if you ever do that again, I'll either come to the show, or if there's if you guys end up recording the music for something, I'll be more than happy to play it on the show.
Maybe the
Good
next
to know.
Seagram Synth album should be a live album recording.
That you can only play once.
These guys, they'll never stop. They'll never stop. Well, please don't stop. Please.
We're
don't.
that shy.
But I just want to say thanks. I've had a blast tonight. And again, I know you guys are busy, so thank you for sharing your Friday night with us.
Our pleasure.
Maybe next time I'll know what Dave looks like. But for the time being, James, and Dave, the mystery man, thank you so much for joining us. And all the best. I can't wait to hear what you guys have cooking in the future. So check them out on Seagram Synth or something like that.
Yeah, it'll come up if you. Seagram Synth will pop up on the search.
There you go. Okay, so we usually go out on a song. I know you like the LeBrain Train theme song, so we'll play another one by T-Bone Erickson. What do you think? What do you think, Rob? What would be a good T-Bone Erickson song to go out on? They're all kind of vulgar, with the exception of the Rob Daniels one. You know what? We played this last week. It's the new one. Why don't we play "Buried on Mars"? Too Loud, Too Old. Okay. So this is the new T-Bone Erickson track. This is called "Buried on Mars," Too Loud, Too Old. And thank you, Catherine and Seagram Synth Ensemble.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Awesome.
Have a great weekend, fellas.
Cheers. Thanks.
Ciao.
Cheers.
See ya.